Have you ever walked into a dead silent library where the tiniest cough or pen drop feels like a cannon blast and you just can't focus? So you pack up, you head to a busy coffee shop filled with the clatter of cups and the hum of conversation, and suddenly you're in the zone. You feel more productive than ever. It's truly a strange paradox, isn't it? You might think you found a secret life hack, that you're just one of those people who works better with a little chaos. But what if I told you that feeling of focus might be a total illusion? The idea that background noise is a secret superpower for productivity has taken the world by storm. We're told it can undistract our brains, boost creativity, and even help with conditions like ADHD. But the real science behind how our brains handle sound is full of shocking surprises. The truth is, the feeling of focus you get in a noisy place comes at a hidden cost. Research shows that for most people, most of the time, background noise doesn't help your brain. It actually forces it to work much harder. In fact, many common beliefs about background noise are not just wrong, they might be actively sabotaging your ability to do your best work. So if you've ever wondered why you secretly love background noise, get ready. We're about to unravel the great distraction deception, debunk the myths, and reveal what the science actually says about creating the perfect sound environment for peak performance. Let's be honest, the feeling is real. You sit down in a coffee shop and the steady ambient hum seems to build a wall of sound around you. The sharp, unpredictable noises of an office, a phone ringing, colleague's sudden question are washed away by the constant, gentle roar, and it feels like a protective bubble, a state of flow where words come easier and ideas connect faster. This experience is so common that a whole industry has sprung up around it, with apps and websites offering endless loops of coffee shop sounds, rainstorms, and crackling fireplaces, all promising to unlock a new level of focus. This desire for a sound buffer makes perfect sense in our modern world. We often work in environments that are sonic battlegrounds. The rise of open-plan offices, a design still found in many workplaces, was meant to foster collaboration but often created an environment of constant interruption. Studies have shown that workers in these spaces face frequent distractions, and some research indicates employees can lose a significant amount of time each day just from conversational distractions. Speech is a particularly powerful distractor. Our brains are hardwired to tune into human conversation, and we have limited cognitive bandwidth to process multiple conversations at once. So if you're trying to focus on your thoughts while overhearing a colleague's chat, your brain is already overloaded. Faced with this auditory chaos, the popular belief emerged: if you cannot get silence, then fight fire with fire. The idea is that a steady, pleasant background noise like the hum of a cafe can act as a masking sound. It's believed to drown out the jarring, unpredictable noises, allowing your brain to settle down and focus. This became the go-to explanation for why we love background noise. It actually feels intuitive, it feels right. But here's where the deception begins. When you feel more focused, your brain is telling a very different story. Neuroscientific research reveals a startling truth. Anytime there is a background noise, your brain has to actively work to filter it out. This filtering process isn't free. It consumes precious cognitive resources. Think of your brain's attention like a computer's RAM. Running your primary task, writing a report, studying for an exam, takes up a certain amount. But when you introduce background noise, your brain has to run an extra program in the background called Ignore This Sound. This program is constantly running, constantly consuming energy. And the result, even if you're not consciously aware of it, the noise increases your overall cognitive load. Studies consistently show that background noise, even at moderate levels, generally impairs cognitive performance, especially for tasks that require memory and high concentration. It can even increase the release of the stress hormone cortisol, making you more fatigued over time. So while you might feel like you're in a productive bubble, your brain is actually fighting a two-front war. One to complete the task and another to ignore the environment. That flow state might be just the sensation of your brain working in overdrive, not more efficiently. The idea of a magical focus zone brought on by the right sound is incredibly appealing. It's led to a few pervasive myths that have become accepted as fact, but when we put these beliefs under the scientific microscope, they start to fall apart, revealing a much more complex and counterintuitive reality. Let's go back to our favorite example. The coffee shop effect is powerful, but why it works is often misunderstood. The perceived benefit likely has less to do with the noise itself and more to do with a mix of psychological and environmental factors. First, there is the novelty of the environment. A change of scenery can temporarily break you out of a procrastination rut and signal to your brain that it's time for a new activity. Second, there's a phenomenon known as social facilitation, where the mere presence of other people working around you can motivate you to stay on task. You see others being productive and it suddenly encourages you to do the same. The sound itself plays a role, but mainly as a form of masking. The constant low-level hum creates a predictable auditory landscape which is less jarring than a silent room suddenly pierced by a loud, unexpected noise. Your brain is less distracted by a steady drone than by a series of sharp, unpredictable sounds it has to identify. However, the critical takeaway from extensive research is that this masking comes at a cost. Your brain is still expending energy to ignore the hum. For tasks requiring deep thought and memorization, studies are very clear. Our brains process information more accurately and quickly in silence. The cognitive load from filtering ambient noise directly competes with the resources you need for difficult tasks. The coffee shop doesn't make your brain better, it just provides an environment that feels less disruptive than a poorly managed quiet space. This is maybe the most compelling and most misapplied scientific concept in the productivity space. Stochastic resonance is a real fascinating phenomenon. The principle is that for a very weak, barely detectable signal, adding a moderate amount of random noise can actually boost that signal, making it easier to detect. Think of it like trying to see a single faint star in a perfectly dark sky. It might be invisible, but add the gentle random twinkling of atmospheric distortion, a form of visual noise, and that faint light might suddenly pop into view. Productivity gurus have run with this idea, claiming background noise adds neural noise to our brain, helping the signal of our focus stand out. This is a huge oversimplification. The vast majority of research on stochastic resonance deals with signals that are below the threshold of perception. The tasks you do at work, reading an email, writing a sentence, are almost always supra-threshold. You can already see and understand them. Adding noise to a signal that is already clear doesn't make it clearer, it just makes it harder to perceive. While some researchers are exploring its potential, there is no mainstream scientific consensus that can trigger it with a coffee shop soundtrack to enhance everyday focus. For most people, external noise is simply a detriment to cognitive performance. You've probably heard of the different colors of noise: white, pink, and brown. These terms just describe how sound energy is distributed across different frequencies. White noise has equal energy at all frequencies, like TV static. Pink noise has more power in the lower frequencies, sounding softer, like a gentle rain. Brown noise is even deeper and rumbly, like a distant thunder. Each color is marketed with specific benefits: white for focus, pink for efficiency, and brown for relaxation. And while there are subtle differences in how they sound and how well they mask other noises, the fundamental principle is the same. It is still noise. Your brain still has to do work to filter it out. Some studies have found that for certain repetitive tasks, pink or brown noise might lead to slightly more consistent performance, but the broader finding is that for people without specific attention issues, adding any of these noises can worsen performance compared to silence. The different colors aren't a menu of cognitive enhancers, they are basically a palette of auditory distractions. Choosing between them is more about personal comfort than unlocking a specific brain benefit. The conversation around background noise often takes a special turn when it comes to attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD. For years, anecdotal evidence has suggested that for some individuals with ADHD, background noise isn't just a preference, but a necessity for focus. This led to the popular theory known as the moderate brain arousal model. The theory proposes that the ADHD brain can be in a state of chronic under arousal, meaning it has lower than optimal levels of internal neural stimulation. This makes it hard to engage with tasks and easy to get distracted. According to this model, introducing external auditory noise like white or pink noise could theoretically boost the brain's arousal level into the sweet spot for optimal focus. It's like giving a sleepy brain a gentle nudge. This idea aligns with the principles of stochastic resonance, suggesting external noise might help the brain better process important signals. Recent meta-analyses have found that for people with ADHD, white or pink noise can indeed lead to small but consistent improvements in task performance. However, the science here is evolving and complex. While the moderate brain arousal model is a leading theory, some recent research has begun to probe its assumptions, questioning if stochastic resonance is the true mechanism. Furthermore, even studies that find a benefit often report that the effects are small and highly individual. For example, one study found that white noise primarily benefited children with inattentive ADHD traits, while those with more hyperactive and impulsive traits actually performed worse. For them, the noise just seemed to be another distraction. So, is background noise a helpful tool for ADHD? The answer is a frustrating but honest, it depends. It is not a universal cure or a reliable hack. For some individuals, particularly those with inattentive symptoms, a steady, low-level sound might help regulate arousal and improve focus. For others, it could make things worse. This highlights a deeper importance of self-experimentation. The idea of a one-size-fits-all noise solution for ADHD is at this point more hype than established. It's a promising area of research, but not a guaranteed strategy. I'm sure this is a lot to take in, and it might contradict what you've always believed about sound and productivity, but we are digging deep into what the science actually says, not just what feels right. If you're finding this deep dive useful for separating fact from fiction, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon. We are all about debunking myths and giving you evidence-based strategies to truly work smarter, not just harder, and help you understand how sound and music affects your brain. Now let's tackle one of the most dangerous myths of all. In the quest for the perfect focus-inducing soundscape, a particularly harmful piece of advice has emerged: the idea that louder is better. Some guides and articles recommend ambient noise levels between 70 and 90 decibels for optimal focus. This is not just wrong, it is dangerously inaccurate. Now let's put those numbers in perspective. A 70 decibel sound level is like a vacuum cleaner in the same room. 90 decibels is even louder, comparable to a lawnmower or a motorcycle. The idea that blasting your ears with noise at those levels could possibly help you concentrate is completely unsupported by credible research. In reality, the opposite is true. Exposure to such high volumes triggers a physiological stress response, increases mental fatigue, and dramatically impairs performance on complex tasks. Any noise level consistently above 85 decibels is widely recognized by occupational health and safety organizations like OSHA, or I say OSHA, as clearly harmful, not just to your hearing, but to your immediate cognitive function. So where does the sweet spot for background noise actually lie, if one exists at all? Scientific studies that find any potential benefits from noise typically use much quieter levels, often between 45 to 60 decibels, about the level of a quiet library or soft rainfall. One study on creativity noted that a louder 65 decibel noise actually worsened performance and increased stress compared to a quieter 45 decibel noise. The consensus is actually clear. If you're going to use background noise, the goal is subtlety. The sound should be quiet, barely there, and sitting comfortably in the background of your awareness. And the recommendation of 70 to 90 decibels is a profound misunderstanding of how the brain works. It's like trying to put out a fire with a flamethrower. You're not creating a focus zone, you're creating an environment of auditory assault that your brain has to fight to overcome. After debunking so many myths, you might be wondering if your love for background noise is entirely misplaced. Not entirely. The relationship between sound and your brain isn't black and white. While the superpower narrative is misleading, there are specific nuanced situations where a carefully chosen soundscape can be beneficial. The key is to shift from the idea of boosting focus to managing distraction. This is the most scientifically sound reason to use background noise. Our brains are highly sensitive to sudden changes. In a silent room, a sharp noise like a door slamming or a phone ringing can instantly hijack your attention. That's your brain's survival mechanism at work. That sudden sound could be a threat, so your brain prioritizes checking it out. A steady, quiet, and constant background noise like a soft fan or an air conditioner like mine, or a quiet brown noise generator can act as an effective acoustic buffer. It creates a consistent auditory flow so that when a sudden noise occurs, it doesn't stand out as much. It's less of a spike in the auditory landscape. In this context, the noise doesn't enhance your focus directly, it just reduces the likelihood of your focus being shattered. The benefit isn't the noise itself, but the consistency it brings to your sonic world. While silence is generally best for deep analytical work, there is some evidence that a moderate level of ambient noise might give a slight edge to creative thinking. One of the most cited studies in this area found that a moderate noise level around 70 decibels led to better performance on brainstorming tasks compared to silence or high noise levels. The theory is that this moderate noise increases processing difficulty just enough to encourage abstract thinking. Because your brain has to work a little harder, it's pushed out of its normal concrete thought patterns. However, it is crucial to apply this with caution. Replications of this research are mixed, and many scientists argue that the optimal level is actually much lower and safer. This potential benefit is best reserved for brainstorming or divergent thinking, not for the focused work of actually executing on those creative ideas. Finally, after all this talk about noise, we have to return to the gold standard for demanding cognitive work: silence. For tasks that require intense concentration, memory recall, and complex problem solving, a quiet environment is almost always superior. It minimizes cognitive load, it reduces stress, and it frees up all of your brain's resources for the task at hand. The challenge and the reason so many of us flee to coffee shops is that we rarely experience true silence. We experience a quiet environment that's actually full of potential distractions. That is why the first step in sound management isn't to add noise, but to perfect silence. This can be done with high-quality noise-canceling headphones, with nothing playing, soundproof rooms, or designated quiet zones. When you give your brain a truly silent canvas free from both jarring interruptions and the constant drain of a masking noise, you create the optimal conditions for deep work. The secret isn't loving background noise, it's realizing that you've probably never given true silence a fair chance. Understanding the science is one thing, applying it is another. Let's move away from the myths and into a practical framework or managing your soundscape for maximum productivity. Before you change anything, just pay attention for a day or two. What sounds actually break your focus? Is it the content of conversations, a phone's unpredictable ring, or is it the oppressive feeling of a silent room where every tiny sound is amplified? Keep a small log. Note the sound and how it made you feel. This personal data is way more valuable than generic advice. For your most demanding tasks, the ones that require intense focus and learning, make true silence your default setting. This doesn't just mean turning off music, it means creating an environment as free from auditory input as possible. Try a good pair of noise-canceling headphones with nothing playing. Find a quiet room or a designated deep work zone. Treat silence not as an absence of sound, but as a powerful tool for focus. If true silence is impossible or feels jarring, your next step is to experiment with a masking sound. But the key here is low level. The goal isn't to entertain your brain, but to create a smooth, predictable sonic flow. Use a brown or pink noise generator, a simple fan, or an app, and set the volume so it's barely audible. A good rule of thumb is to keep the volume well below 50 decibels, quieter than a normal conversation. This can help mask distracting noises without adding significant cognitive load. Sounds of rain or birdsong can be great for stress reduction, but they are often a poor choice for focused work. Unlike the steady drone of pink noise, nature sounds are dynamic. A sudden bird chirp can be just as distracting as an office noise. The best way to use these is during your breaks. Try a Pomodoro-style workflow. 25 minutes of deep work in silence, followed by a 5-minute break listening to calming nature sounds to reset your mind. If you absolutely must listen to music while working, the single most important rule is to choose instrumental tracks. Music with lyrics is a cognitive nightmare for productivity. The language processing centers in your brain will automatically try to process the words, which directly competes for the same resources you need for reading, writing, and thinking. Classical ambient, electronic, or film scores can provide energy without hijacking your brain's linguistic capabilities. For example, do you hear the music playing in the background? It has lyrics. Can you focus on the lyrics while listening to the words I'm saying? I imagine it's very difficult. But when you play a very subtle background sound, like the one in my intro and outro I'm playing right now, you can see that it helps you to focus even better. We started with a simple question. Why do we feel so focused in a bustling coffee shop? The journey through the science has revealed a surprising answer. That feeling you secretly love isn't a sign that your brain is working better. It's often a sign that your brain is working harder, fighting to create order out of auditory chaos. The popular narrative that background noise is a productivity superpower is largely a myth. For the vast majority of people and for most types of demanding work, research consistently shows that noise increases cognitive load, elevates stress, and impairs performance. The benefits that do exist are nuanced. A very quiet, constant noise can help mask interruptions, and for some individuals with specific attention profiles, it may help regulate brain arousal. But these are the exceptions, not the rule. The real secret to productivity isn't about finding the perfect noise to add to your environment. It's about intentionally subtracting the noise that drains your cognitive resources. It's about reclaiming the profound, underrated power of silence. So the next time you feel the urge to flee a quiet space for a noisy one, pause and ask yourself, am I seeking true focus, or am I just seeking a familiar feeling of stimulation? True mastery over your work begins with mastery over your environment. Start by turning down the volume on the world, and you might just unlock a clarity you never thought possible. Take control of your auditory world, and your brain will thank you for it. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.